in a few moments. Thank you.
For the benefit of those returning to the meeting room, City Council just met in camera in order to receive a briefing from the City Manager with respect to the City's succession plan and organizational alignment. Specifically, Council dealt with matters related to the City's succession plan for key leadership positions and associated changes to the City's organizational structure. The City Manager will be providing his presentation on the matter in open session to be followed by a motion. During the in-camera session, no votes were taken other than procedural motions and/or directions to staff. So, City Manager, the floor is yours for a brief presentation, and then we have a motion by Councillor Deroux, seconded by Councillor Dudas.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, today I'm presenting a recommendation to you on two particular positions. The rest is within the delegated authority the Council has bestowed on the City Manager to move forward. But to take you back to May of 2016, when I was appointed as City Manager, I was giving four mandates from Council at that time, which was to improve the financial sustainability of the city while protecting the quality of our frontline services to the public, improve our organizational effectiveness and modernize our administration, deliver on capital infrastructure and large city building projects, and prepare the organization by focusing on succession management. And today the focus of the presentation is on succession management. Over the last 3 years, we went from 21 departments down to 9 departments with a new leadership team. We've consecutively met Council's tax target by streamlining services and functions. In fact, we addressed a $41.8 million budget deficit in 2015, and we realized budget surpluses in 2016, 17, and 18 with the leadership of this senior leadership team. We've also realized $86 million in efficiency savings over the last term of Council. So we had significant successes. We simplified reporting relationships with clear lines of accountability. We aligned our resources to deliver on the large city building projects. We increased opportunities for economic growth. We updated our processes using innovation to maximize value to the public. And we spent a lot of time preparing a succession plan for our general manager, directors, and management levels. The last 3 years, that has been a large focus for our senior leadership team to prepare our organization for the eventuality of people's retirements and departures. As far as context go, as of July 2018, 5 of the 9 general managers on my senior leadership team were eligible for retirement. Within 1 to 3 years, 8 of the 9 general managers will be eligible for retirement. On March 20th, 2019, I announced that Janice Burrell, our General Manager of Community and Social Services, after a distinguished career, is retiring on April 30th, 2019. Donna Gray, who's the current General Manager of Service Innovation and Performance, was appointed to as the new General Manager of Community and Social Services effective May 1st, 2019. Nancy Greenfield, who's our Director of Service Ottawa, was appointed Acting General Manager of Service Innovation Performance effective April 3rd of this year. And Marion Simuluk, who's our City Treasurer and General Manager of Corporate Services, announced her retirement plan for January 2nd, 2020. Given these retirement announcements, we focus very much on our people and how our organization is positioned to implement the next phase of our succession plan. I want to assure you also that this succession plan is implemented using a staged approach. There's 4 components I'm going to talk about, and will fall within the city's existing compensation budget and FTE counts. Effective June 2019, I'm going to be merging the current Service Innovation and Performance Department with the Corporate Services Department to create a new department called Innovative Client Services. We're going to create a new Finance Services Department led by a Chief Financial Officer, and we're going to separate the City Clerk and City Solicitor functions into 2 specific distinct roles. We'll also be moving corporate real estate to the Planning, Infrastructure, and Economic Development Department. The slide you see next is the new department, the new organizational structure of the departments. There are no additional departments added to our organizational structure. We had 9 before, we still have 9. This isn't about cost savings, and there is nobody that's going to be losing their job or affected by leaving the organization by this reorganization. I have 4 main priorities through this transition: to maintain organizational stability, business continuity, enhance our focus on fiscal management, and to deliver on strategic priorities of Council. The key benefits of this is that we're going to have a planned stage approach for implementing the next phase of our succession plan. We're going to be strengthening our organizational design with the same number of GMs and direct reports to the city manager, which is an important fact that 9 around the table versus 21 is significant in our ability to be responsive and to manage the direction of Council. We're going to be increasing the efficiency with the merger of Service Innovation, Performance, and Corporate Services to create the new Innovative Client Services Department. These service areas play a critical role throughout the organization and for our service delivery every day to our residents, and bringing innovation and new thinking to how these services interrelate is a critical piece to our mandate. We want to focus on fiscal management with the creation of a new Chief Financial Officer Treasurer who will report directly to the City Manager. Marion Simuluk we plan to hire the new CFO late summer, and Marion Simuluk will move, once the 2 departments are merged, to be the CFO, interim CFO of Financial Services Department. And the new person that gets hired will shadow Marion for the 5 months remaining in the year to go through a complete cycle of budget and long-range financial plan so that they are brought up to speed and have a smooth transition into their role. The separation of city clerk and city solicitor, as I told you in camera, is purely to plan for our future recruitment and succession. It's very difficult to find somebody that can do both roles, a clerk and a city solicitor, and do it in a way that they're experts in both. It's a very rare person, and we're fortunate to have Rick O'Connor to be able to do those 2 roles. However, when you look ahead at potential retirement of Rick in the future, it's much easier to hire specifically a city solicitor and specifically a city clerk in this country than it is to hire one that can do both effectively. It's a very unique skill set to be able to do both. Our corporate real estate office is going to move to planning, infrastructure, and economic development. We really believe that's critical to increase collaboration and strengthen our city building agenda. We think the interrelationship of real estate, corporate real estate, with Mr. Willis's department and having real estate at the table will facilitate how we deal with our property acquisitions, disposals, and development, and will benefit the city. And I'd also like to point out that we are going to be aggressively implementing our succession plan for the rest of our organization's future leaders. We will be moving people throughout the organization into various stretch assignments, growth opportunities, and responsibility areas to test them and to give them exposure to new leadership roles to get this organization ready for any future departments. Any future departures. Mr. Mayor, so that concludes my presentation, and the resolution is before you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Darouze, seconded by Councillor Dudas, has the motion. Councillor, if you'd like to introduce it. I think, can we dispense? Everyone's seen a copy. It's up on the screen, I believe. Agreed to dispense reading the whole item out? Agreed. So on the motion by Councillor Darouze, seconded by Councillor Dudas with respect to succession plan and organizational alignment, as was just presented by the City Manager. Carried? Okay, thank you. Motion to adopt reports. Motion portant adoption de rapport. Councillor Hubley, please. And seconded by Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee Report 2, the Build Heritage Subcommittee Report 1, the Community and Protective Services Committee Report 2, Finance Economic Development Committee Report 2A, and the report from the City Clerk and Solicitor entitled Summary of Oral and Written Public Submissions for Items Subject to the Planning Act Explanation Requirements at the City Council meeting on March 6, 2019 be received and adopted as amended, Mr. Mayor.
On the motion, carried. Adopté. Merci. Motions of which notice have been given previously. Councillor Menard, seconded by Councillor Brockington, with respect to OSEG and smoke.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't think I need to speak much to it. I did give notice. I'll just read the therefore be it resolved that the City of Ottawa grant an exemption to bylaw number 2003-237 to OSEG to allow for the use of smoke devices for Fury games starting April 1st, 2019 until December 31st, 2022 for home games and playoff games if required, and granting OSEG an exemption from Section 17 of the bylaw, which requires a permit application to be made 30 days in advance of the proposed use, subject to OSEG meeting all other permit requirements of the bylaw, including Section 18, to the satisfaction of the fire chief. I did speak with the community associations on both sides of Lansdowne, and none of them had any concerns.
On the motion? Carried. Thank you. Motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure, moved by Councillor Fleury, seconded by myself. There's a timing impact on the tendering process on suspension. Carried. Councillor Fleury.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, is it best to just read to keep everyone? Where's
I
the
think
city?
just give a summary and then go to the therefore be it resolved.
Sure. So as you know, we've approved in this year's budget the redo of Montreal Road. There are sections where we're not meeting the minimum thresholds for accessibility for sidewalk width. So staff worked with Hydro Ottawa to identify those locations and to amend a section of our policy to ensure that we respect council's wishes. There's identified portions that are covered by Hydro, others that would need to be covered by the City of Ottawa, which are within the parameter of the funding allocation for Montreal Road. So the therefore be it resolved is that council approved the undergrounding of overhead wires for the section of Montreal Road described above, subject to a cost-sharing agreement with Hydro Ottawa Inc., such as the city's estimate 1.1 share of the cost for bearing of the hydro wires be funded from existing capital authority for Montreal Road. Be for it resolved that Director Infrastructure Services be delegated the authority to enter into cost-sharing agreement with Hydro Ottawa Inc. for this work as described in the motion, and be it further resolved that Planning, Infrastructure, Economic Development staff be directed to review the underground wiring policy during this term of council, with the goal of better alignment the underground wiring policy with accessibility and other planning policies that have been approved by council since the policy was first adopted in 2011, and the account for operational changes by Hydro Ottawa favoring undergrounding in selected circumstances.
So this is dealing with an accessibility issue and the fact that we're compliant under the AODA. Councillor Brockington. Okay. On the motion, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other notices of motion that require suspension? No. Notices of motion for consideration of subsequent meeting. Councillor Menard, please.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll just read it out. Whereas City Council approved on the basis of available information provided by senior staff and external legal counsel, the staff recommended Stage 2 LRT proponent to construct and maintain the north-south Trillium line at its meeting of March 6, 2019, and whereas credible information has surfaced in reports that calls into question the integrity of the procurement process, and whereas Stage 2 LRT is the single largest investment of taxpayer dollars in a capital project in the city's history and is integral to the city's long-term sustainability, and whereas it is of critical importance that the residents and taxpayers of Ottawa have complete confidence in the transparency and integrity of the Stage 2 LRT procurement process, therefore be it resolved that Council requests that the city's Auditor General launch an investigation into the procurement process that was executed to award the LRT Stage 2 contracts.
Okay, thank you. Any other notices of motion for consideration of subsequent meeting? Notice of intent, avis d'intention, notice of intent from the City Auditor General to table the annual report at the April 8th, 2019 meeting of the Audit Committee. Motion to introduce bylaws, motion portant présentation de règlement. Councillor Hubley, please, seconded by Councillor McKenney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the bylaws listed on the agenda under motion to introduce bylaws, 3 readings be read and passed.
On the motion, carried. Adopté. Confirmation bylaw, Councillor Hubley, seconded by Councillor McKenney, please.
That the following bylaw be read and passed to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting on March 27, 2019, Mr. Mayor.
The motion carried. Any written inquiries, Madam Deputy Clerk? Councillor Deans, is it written out?
Yeah. It's written out. Thank you. On March 6, 2019, City Council approved, on the basis of available information provided by senior staff and external legal counsel, the staff recommended Stage 2 LRT proponent to construct and maintain the north-south Trillium line. Since then, concerns have been raised by the media and the public with regard to the integrity of the procurement process that resulted in the staff recommendation to Council. To ensure that the residents and taxpayers of Ottawa have complete confidence in the transparency and integrity of the Stage 2 LRT procurement process, could staff please outline, clarify, and confirm the staff delegated authority for this procurement and when and how this delegated authority was used in the process? Specifically, number one, upon what exact delegated authority have staff relied on as it pertains to the procurement process for Stage 2 LRT? Please point to any and all clauses and legal interpretations that govern this process. Number two, could the language in the above noted delegated authority provide staff with the discretion to depart from the city's purchasing bylaw, the relevant project agreements, or any other governing documents? For example, could staff use this delegated authority to allow a proponent who did not achieve the technical threshold of 70% to move forward in the process? If yes to the above, is this issue of delegated authority considered to be emergency or special circumstance as defined under the Delegated Authority Bylaw 2016? If yes to the above, could staff please explain what reporting mechanism is being used to advise Council of the use of special or emergency delegated authority as required in our Delegated Authority Bylaw as per Section 5? If the use of delegated authority was not deemed special or emergency in nature, then could staff please advise how they are meeting the accountability and the transparency requirements as per Delegations of Powers Bylaw? And finally, whether in the LRT procurement the requirement to achieve a minimum of 70% in the technical scoring is an absolute pass-fail, or whether the delegation of authority to recommend a winning proponent given to staff in 2017 has mechanisms to override that requirement.
Great, and I know the city manager sent around a memo that answers those questions, so we might want to circulate it again. Mr. City Manager. Adjournment, Councillor Hubli, please.
Does not answer those questions.
It's all right. Councillor Hubli has the floor.
That the proceedings of the City Council meeting of March 27, 2019 be adjourned.
On the motion, carried.
Carried.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Meeting adjourned.
Oh, he couldn't wait to take the jersey off.